This is the Dollemore Daily, and I'm Jesse Dollemore.
This video is brought to you by Stamps.com. Well, after over a year and a half of screaming and yelling and calling for it, crying out for justice about the insurrection and Donald Trump's role in it, it appears that now we have information that Donald Trump is, in fact, being investigated. Or the language is a little wiggly here, but this New York Times article, Justice Department asking witnesses about Trump in its January 6th investigation. Federal prosecutors sought information about the former president's role in the efforts to overturn the election as the inquiry accelerates. We know that last week, the grand jury that has been impaneled to investigate not exactly what we don't know. We're not sure exactly the intent or the targeting of what they're looking for, but it does surround the insurrection. Now we're learning because of this that some of the witnesses last week, Mark Short, the former vice president's chief of staff, and others, they were being asked directly about Donald Trump's role in this, Donald Trump's actions surrounding this, and specifically around the fake elector scheme, which I've been talking about for months as the part of this story to focus on, not exclusively, because there are many facets to it, but certainly primarily to focus on that, because that was the overarching criminal conspiracy, the mechanism by which Donald Trump thought he would stay in office. By delaying the count, sending it back to the states, and then sending a new slate of electors. I think Donald Trump ultimately hoped it would go to the Supreme Court and then they would rule in his favor. Who knows? We're gonna find out. We're gonna find out. Here in Washington, D.C., where the weather is set to sauna from June to September, it takes real motivation to leave the house. During these months, only a great restaurant, a special event, or a necessary task will pull me into the scorching temperatures. Thankfully, my shipping needs no longer require incendiary trips to the post office. Instead, I use Stamps.com. You need only a computer and a standard printer to be up and running in minutes, printing official postage for any letter or package to any place you want to send them. And the best part, you don't have to leave your house. Simply set a pickup and your mail carrier will collect from your doorstep. It's too easy. Have you been spending too much time in the sauna yourself? Why not chill out with Stamps.com? Sign up now at Stamps.com/Dollemore for a special offer that includes a 4-week trial plus free postage and a free digital scale. With Stamps.com, you'll also cool off your spending. You see what I did there? Using Stamps, you get access to discounts you simply cannot find anywhere else, like up to 30% off of United States Postal Service rates and 86% off of UPS. Stamps also works seamlessly with Shopify, Amazon, Etsy, and a bunch more. Over 1 million businesses have used Stamps.com for more than 20 years. Whether you're an office sending invoices, an eBay store shipping products, or a warehouse mailing your orders, Stamps.com is your mailing and shipping solution. Get out of the heat with Stamps.com. There's no risk, no long-term commitments or contracts. Just go to Stamps.com/Dollemore for your free 4-week trial plus free postage and a digital scale. That's Stamps.com/Dollemore. You'll never have to go to the post office again. I'm going to read a little bit from this, but this is a momentous day. This is really the beginning of the end. We're not deep into this. We're not, this is the tail end. We're at the very beginning of this, which I'll say before I get into this article, this is the reason I have been yelling and screaming and not trusting outright what authorities say about the investigation. Because we needed together to pressure the Justice Department to do the right thing. Not just for the sake of getting it done, but getting it done expeditiously. An attorney general appointed by a president only has a certain amount of time in office. And a federal investigation and criminal prosecution such as this is so wide-ranging and so important because of the historicity of it that it's gonna take some time. Likely more time than Merrick Garland has in his office. And as I've said, if Republicans take over, if Republicans gain control of the White House in 2024 or going into 2025, January 20th, 2025, it is almost a certainty. I really don't see a scenario where this investigation and this grand jury testimony and all of the data points surrounding it, that they go further and there will be a prosecution. That's just not going to happen. When you have your Jim Jordans and your other idiots who surround Donald Trump in Congress, when you have another Donald Trump, likely, if Republicans take control, in the White House, do you think he's going to appoint someone dedicated to the prospect of dispassionate justice? The answer is no. He's going to put a lackey in there, just as Bill Barr was. Except this time, he will learn from his mistakes and put someone even more lapdoggy into the Justice Department. Reading from the New York Times here, federal prosecutors have directly asked witnesses in recent days about former President Donald Trump, ex-President Donald Trump's involvement in efforts to reverse his election loss, a person familiar with the testimony said on Tuesday, suggesting that the Justice Department criminal investigation has moved into a more aggressive and politically fraught phase. Mr. Trump's personal role in elements of the push to overturn his loss in 2020 to Joe Biden has long been established, both through his public actions and statements and evidence gathered by the House committee investigating the January 6th attack. This is separate from that. This is separate from the January 6th House Select Committee that is investigating the events of the insurrection, the attack on their work building. Not only on our democracy, but at a more granular level, the place they work. That's their investigation. They don't have any prosecutorial power. A grand jury, if they vote in the affirmative and issue a true bill, will indict individuals. They have the power of indictment. Then it would go to trial before a jury, and we could see convictions. Again, this is separate from the congressional investigation. But the Justice Department has been largely silent about how and even whether it would weigh pursuing potential charges against Mr. Trump, and reluctant even, and this has been my frustration, and I believe yours, and reluctant even to concede that his role was discussed in senior leadership meetings at the department. Asking questions about Mr. Trump in connection with the electors plot or the attack on the Capitol does not mean the Justice Department has opened a criminal investigation into him, a decision that would have immense political and legal ramifications. The department's investigation into a central element of the push to keep Mr. Trump in office, the plan to name slates of electors pledged to Mr. Trump in battleground states won by Mr. Biden, now appears to be accelerating as prosecutors with the U.S. Attorney's Office in Washington ask witnesses about Mr. Trump and members of his inner circle, including the White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, the person familiar with the testimony said. Two top aides to Vice President Mike Pence testified to the federal grand jury in the case last week, and prosecutors have issued subpoenas and search warrants. Search warrants have been issued as well to a growing number of figures tied to Mr. Trump and the campaign to forestall his loss. A spokesman for Attorney General Merrick Garland declined to comment, saying the Justice Department did not provide details of grand jury proceedings. That's standard practice because a grand jury proceeding is secret. The department's questioning of witnesses about Mr. Trump and its receipt of the phone records were reported earlier by the Washington Post. If a decision were made to open a criminal investigation into Mr. Trump after he announced his intention to run in the 2024 election, as he continues to hint he might do, the department's leadership would be required. This is the problem that I have with the sentence I'm getting ready to read. And this involves the memo that I talked about a week or so ago. The memo warning people about political persecution and investigations around people who are running for office. And in the memo, in like the third paragraph toward the bottom, we have the images. We'll throw them up here. He instructed his staff to follow a rule put in place by Bill Barr, former Attorney General, former bootlicking lapdog of Donald Trump, who created a rule out of whole cloth in order that he shield future Republicans running from office from investigation, from justice, from consequence of their criminality. The sentence now. If a decision were made to open a criminal investigation into Trump after he announced his intention to run in the 2024 election, as he continues to hint he might do, the department's leadership would be required to undertake a formal consultation process, then sign a formal approval of the department's intentions under an internal rule created by former Attorney General Bill Barr and endorsed by Merrick Garland. That is a problem for me. Continuing here, but in recent days, Mr. Garland has repeatedly asserted his right to investigate or prosecute anybody, including Mr. Trump, provided that is where the evidence leads. The Justice Department has from the beginning been moving urgently to learn everything we can about this period and to bring to justice everybody who was criminally responsible for interfering with the peaceful transfer of power from one administration to another, which is the fundamental element of our democracy, Mr. Garland told NBC Nightly News in an interview broadcast on Tuesday when he asked to comment on criticisms that his investigation was moving too slowly. Again, not moving too slowly in general, but moving too slowly relative to the time he has remaining as Attorney General of these United States. That's the problem. That if we want to go by the books, but if we're going and adhering to these inane Justice Department arbitrary policies, not law, not statutory law, just policies that were created by the former guy, that seems to me to be problematic. But this is all good news. Donald Trump, if we're putting odds on this, I still think it's about a 50-50. But the more we learn, the more the scales are tipping into the likelihood that Donald Trump will see some consequence. We will see. But I'd love to know what you think. You can call, leave me a brief voicemail, 714-576-4054. Of course, you can email me, daily@dollemore.com. I'd love to hear your opinion on this. This is a big, big news item. Follow me on social media. We can also talk about it there. I'm at Dollemore on Instagram, at Dollemore on TikTok, and at Dollemore on the old-fashioned Twitter. And if I do something for you, if I bring value to your day or to your week, please consider supporting and producing my work right here on YouTube. You can click the join button below this video, become a channel member for as little as $1.99 a month, just pennies a day. Or you can go over to patreon.com/IDoubtItPodcast and help support my work there. I love you guys. I appreciate you. Let's take a moment to revel in the good news when it comes. I'll see you next time. Till I do, be genuine. Take care of one another.